Hello, wonderful ULARP watchers, and welcome back to a slightly different video. So my name is Adam, and I'm joined by my very good friend Matt. And recently we teamed up and we wrote a one-shot for a friend of ours called Dominic, who runs a website called Critit. They sell dice and all kinds of roleplay stuff. And if you watched our stream, you'll know they give us lots of stuff to give out as prizes and sponsor us with dice, which is the best sponsorship you could ever want. So we ran and wrote a one-shot for them, and you can get that one-shot for free, and we'll put a link in the title and also below so you'll be able to see it. So what this video is going to be kind of like a guide going through it, telling you what we were thinking, how to try and run the encounters, but ultimately if you're the DM it's completely up to you, but this is just what we had in mind for it. So if you go download it now, and I shall share it on our screen as well, and between us we should be able to look through it. 1 second. Yes! The power of technology. I'm at the end rather than the beginning. Spoilers. Okay, let's do
love
this.
that artwork so much.
Yeah, it's so good. So all of the art, apart from one piece, is from a guy called Kyo Art, and he did a phenomenal job. He's actually an Italian nurse, and while he was doing the art for this, he was in like peak virus COVID-19 horrendousness going on, and still he just really he's such a good guy. He'll change. He completed the first version of this art and then wasn't happy with it, and basically, and I was like, I love it, and then just started the whole thing again. And just started over, and then came out with this, and yeah, he did such a good job. He's such a ledge. I love using him, and he's super affordable, which is always nice. Right, let's get looking at this then. So we didn't go too far into the history. We wanted to keep it simple. So the idea behind this campaign, or this one shot, is that you can use it and weave it into your own game as like a little side mission, or if you want to use this to kickstart your own ideas, then you can do. So we have got like a little bit of background into it, but we've not gone too crazy with his 4 pages of background so you can understand what's going on, but the players will never understand it. And we nearly cut some of these points.
Yeah, so I mean, arguably you don't need to know a whole chunk of this, and most of what's on this page won't come across to the players at all by the end of the one shot. It just doesn't need to.
No, exactly. So the idea is there is this person called the Archivist, who liked collecting things and liked collecting living things, and the best of those living things that he could find out in the wild. Think of him like a big zoo collector or something along those lines.
Magical Noah.
Yeah, basically a magical Noah, finding the perfect example of each animal. And then he hired 3 separate people to come and work with him, and they were Silphine, Nekef, and Zalash. And what these 3 were able to do was Silphine would find him the perfect examples of each animal and each species. Nikesh would be able to draw the spirit out of their body with the shard and hold it, and then Zalash would move the spirit through his body and into the prison or the cell or whatever they were going to hold it in. Then one day the Archivist disappeared. We have written what happened, but you don't need to know about it yet. All you need to know is the Archivist disappeared.
It will come out later.
Yeah, exactly. Silphine was already questioning what they were doing, and then she took it upon herself to set up what was called the Keepers of the Shard, and they tried to release all of the animals that they'd captured back into the wild, or release their spirits, killing them in the process, but releasing them from their containments, because their bodies have long died, but their spirits are being kept alive through magical means. Nakaf, he messed up. So he hadn't been trained by the Archivist in certain things, and he managed to do some big no-no to himself, and is now trying to undo that. And Zelash should be, I'm not appearing in this adventure in any way, but will be in later adventures. He is still alive and kicking, because he has a phoenix spirit inside him, so every time he dies, he is reborn.
Yeah, the interesting thing for me about these three is that Sylphine is not around anymore, because she believed in kind of the natural cycle. She's very druidic. She actually lived a natural lifespan and then died. And she's just got these Keepers of the Shard who she trained, who kind of passed this lore on, whereas the other two are still around because they've been using their shard magic to keep themselves alive, whereas she put her money where her mouth is and stuck with her beliefs and died of old age.
Yeah, true. And that's the major background. And here we've got some more fantastic art. I really like this one. Like, when he showed this piece of art to me, I was like, oh man, that's a good piece. Which is some spoilers for what to expect. And then we jump to Braeburn Hamlet.
A sleepy little town in the middle of nowhere where nothing is going to go wrong at all.
Yes. So a little bit of background. I normally run a Curse of Strahd game, and it's pretty grim and pretty grey and dark all of the time, and nothing good ever happens. Even when you win, it's always bittersweet. So I wanted to write something which was completely different to that, which is this adventure. It's like this beautiful little countryside pub where I would want to visit it, and like the menu is all of the food that I like in life.
Which, as I recall, is mostly meat.
Yeah, exactly. You'd hate it, mate.
Yeah, not for me. Not for me. I love the fact, by the way, Adam, that you're saying you wanted to write something completely different to Curse of Strahd, and you've still got this giant, creepy shadow monster that lurks out of the darkness and just makes everything go wrong.
Yeah,
maybe you didn't go far enough away.
True. So the background here, there's a couple of different moving parts. 3 months ago, some giant spiders moved down and found somewhere to make a nest. That's important for later on, of course. 2 months ago, Gus, on his way home while drunk, ran into the rabbit spirit and was able to find it trapped and actually rescued it by approaching it with his torch out. And since that moment, he's had extremely good luck. Gus told some of the other locals about this, and they thought he was just drunk and he just saw a rabbit, until the innkeeper saw it as well, saw it. It's never explained really if he did or didn't, but he claims to have seen it and helped it on its way as well. This story of this lucky person in Braeburn has travelled out, which has brought the attention of my favourite NPC in the game, someone called Desmond Diamond Delacroix, who's so just greasy. Beautiful. He's like pure grease.
So greasy.
And that's the background. You don't need to know too much. So all you need to know is Gus was in the right place at the right time and was the right person to just do what he would do, which was saw something in trouble and released it. And for his troubles, got some luck. I don't think there's really much more to talk about with the background, is there, Matt?
No, not really.
It's pretty straightforward. The idea behind Braeburn is it's like a nothing hamlet for people who would walk past and just completely miss it. But then it's to try and show that even in these tiny little places that you can build interesting NPCs who have lived lives and settled here, and X, Y, and Z has happened. So we've got the Hog and Hare Inn. So already you can drop some hints that something's changing for the players to see. So they've got a little test, and they can see that the sign has recently been updated, that it used to just be the hog, and now it's the Hog and Hare. So you can give that little tidbit of information to someone, and then may take it further, they may not. It's up to them. Your job as the DM, the way I see it, is you're dropping little hooks, and you're dropping like the little breadcrumbs of information, which can then make the players ask questions or not. It's up to them. Then you're trying to sell the inn as being very welcoming, full of the locals, local colour, local NPCs, and try and make the party realise they've got to spend a night here, that they can go and talk to people, that they can take in the local colour and enjoy themselves in a secure place where they're not going to be in serious trouble.
A lot of times players have a tendency to kind of treat camping and resting and inns as just a sort of a kind of a sudden cut in like a TV show or something like that, where you just fade to black and then suddenly it's the next morning. This was our attempt to kind of show that kind of downtime is a great source for kind of rich NPCs and kind of low stakes character building roleplay.
Yeah, exactly. And as a DM, it's something I'm guilty of. You can tell the players are wanting to rest and then move on, and they just want to go and just get a room and have a long rest. But as soon as you can make it interesting for them and actually entertaining, fun game, and a game within itself, then you can make them engage with it. And that's your goal as a DM, to make them engage with the story and engage with the storyline and the characters which are going on. So one of the first things we drop is the fact they arrive at dusk, but the blacksmith is still gently tapping away, working. So I wanted to hint towards the fact that this little village or hamlet, everyone pulls their weight. That there's not really slackers and people like that here, and the blacksmith enjoys his job and this is what he wants to do. They don't really engage with him. He's not got too much information if they do go and ask him stuff, but there's a couple of tidbits. And then we get to the owners of the inn. So Bartram and Olga Dusk. Bartram you can see in this piece of art here, and Olga in the background here. This is from a different artist whose name I can't remember. I'll put a link somewhere below, and a piece that will come up later. This is Desmond Diamond Delacroix and Gus. So the idea here is that Bartram has set this inn up, or brought it, and absolutely adores bards and music and the joy that they bring to other people. Imagine, when I kind of wrote Bartram, I was imagining that like little boy who got infatuated the first time he saw a bard and never got over it, and then kind of made it his life to kind of relive that moment as many times as he could and share it with other people. Because bards to a lot of people out here would not be common at all. They wouldn't be something that you see that often, in my world anyway. So he's kind of created this inn where he's built a special room called the Bard's Room, which you can't rent, which is the best room in the inn. And he has built a stage, and he does everything he can to encourage them, and we'll have some good role play, hopefully, with the party, especially if they've got a bard. And then Olga is the kind of character who's trying to rein him in life a little bit, but doesn't want to destroy his spirit and keep on top of him. When he like offers free drinks because a bard does something amazing, she'll say, no, it's not, but we'll give a discount to encourage him. And then
I feel like Bartram and Olga as a double act kind of embodied our kind of working relationship when we were writing things. I'm not going to say who's who, but you can probably work it out.
From the menu, the hog ribs is a good meal, but it is considerably cheaper than the normal price of a good meal. Everything else is about right. Again, you can hint with he's got a new cider, which is the hair special, which is actually a cider that Gus makes. There we go. Brand Double is actually a character named after a player character from a really long campaign that I ran. And when he found out he was in this, he was very happy. The only thing they share really is the name and the race, because the Brand Double in my campaign was a actual chaotic neutral bard, and he played chaotic neutral, and he was a nightmare, but brilliant. He was a comedy player and a comedy character as well, and he did it very well. He was a very intelligent player. And the idea with Brand Double is that if the party have got a bard with them, that they will have to play against Brand Double to win the bard's room. So the idea is to have a reward which is really just kind of roleplay fluff, and a bit of bragging rights, and it can be hard in D&D to give rewards out which aren't like, here's a magic item, or here's some gold, and here's more power creep or experience, where this is, everyone else had to sleep in the crap room, but I won the bard off, I get to sleep in the really good room, and now I get to mock you because you slept in the crap room.
This is the solid advantage of running adventures with second level characters, because they have nothing, so you can give them whatever and they will love it to pieces.
And he's a character. I might make him come back at a later date, we'll see. And then we've got Edwin Silverscale. I like to have a merchant around. He's got a few different things. He pops back for one of the encounters later to have a bit of comedy effect, and it works quite well. And if you've got a thief in the group who wants to try and do some stealing, or someone who wants to do some fighting, that is the reason we've got Edwin and his bodyguard Klee. So he's the classic well-dressed half-elf, nice enough guy, master at what he does, which is glass and intricate work. So although he sells like potions of healing, he actually makes the potion bottle rather than the healing. So it's got his seal on it, and he makes the perfume vial rather than the perfume in the ink, and then carries a few knickknacks with him as well. And then of course, because it's not safe to be out in the world, he's got his bodyguard Klee. And this is a type of storytelling where you are showing something and then leaving it to people's imagination of what's going on. So you can explain that she's got the hair heavy down one side of the face, and then when people come in and actually engage, then you can just give them more information where you can see that she's got a heavy scar down there, and it doesn't look like it was caused by a sword or something like that. It looks like maybe it's a claw or something like that, and then you can open that up, and then the party can be like, oh, okay, I'm not messing with that, or I need to find out more information. It's up to them. So it's a kind of, we're not telling all of the information here, so then you as a DM can take stuff and run with how it happened yourself.
It's just one of those opportunities for just a little thing that you can just drop in to see if players actually want to nibble at it. And if nobody bites and nobody is interested, it's just background and it doesn't matter.
Exactly. And one of the things when I played it, as Desmond approached the bar, I would let players maybe do a perception, or actually, if I felt they had the right professions to see, they would see Klee move in between Desmond and Edwin. So at no point can this person who Klee has marked get close to Edwin the merchant. And if you've got a party member who looks dodgy, Klee is more than happy to not let them approach Edwin, or constantly stand between, or give them the look and keep watching them as soon as they do step close to him. And it's a good way to kind of enforce amongst your players that this is how people are judging you, this is how you're looking. If you look dodgy and you walk in here and you look like a thief or a rogue, that this person is not going to trust you. She's not an idiot. She's a well-trained bodyguard, and then that can be used for fun roleplay fluff of they can have a go at her and she just puts up with no crap from anyone. If somehow a bar fight does kick off or something crazy like that happens, she'll step in and keep him safe and also take care of whoever starts the trouble. Desmond is pure slime.
So gross.
It's up to you what voice you use for Desmond.
If you can do some kind of impression of Adam's normal voice, that will work well, I think.
Ha 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 ha. How do I mute you on here?
It's alright, you can just cut that bit out. No one will know.
So Desmond for me was based on a character I saw from... I was watching a documentary from Louis Theroux, and it was about gambling, and there was someone there who had lost like so much money gambling and was just dreadful, and they were so slimy about it as well, and it was just like, it was so awkward to watch. But like with Louis Theroux documentaries, you've got to watch it, or I do anyway. And he's kind of that style of character who's been around the wrong people for too long and been around people who just rip each other off, so therefore it's okay to rip each other off. And, oh no, this is just the world we live in, for the excuses they make for why they act the way they do. Oh, it's their fault for not paying attention. Tries to be more than he is, but ultimately, if you fail to see that he's cheated you, it's your fault, not his, because he's outwitted you. He's just a really not nice person. Followed by Gus, who is the ultimate nice guy. Gus is based on someone I knew when I was growing up in Norfolk, and was part of something called Young Farmers. And he was like 15, 16, and these are all people with massive... all the parents have got massive farms, and they all get very drunk all of the time whenever they meet up, and then have these ridiculous stories, and all of them always start with, I was very drunk, and then I did this, or I was very drunk, and then we had to take the tractor to so-and-so because the car wouldn't start, so we went there in Tesco's. And it's just like, brilliant. Okay, you guys are all nuts, I love you. Classic, this is his life. This is someone... what's the word for when you've like found your calling for what you should do in life? Someone told me at like Empire, of like, and I can never remember it. If you know the word for like when you find your calling in life of what you should do, put it in chat. Clearly I haven't.
Just leave us a comment.
So the idea is we've got these characters, hopefully are semi-interesting, and then there's certain events which are going to happen. Desmond is there to play dice with Gus, and he's waiting for Gus to arrive. And it's up to you when you bring Gus in, and then that kick-starts some of the encounters. So if the party are doing lots of stuff, hold Gus back. And then once it starts to die down and you think the party are ready, like I waited for mine to have food, and then I entered Gus. So we've got a dice game with what's going to happen there, and Desmond will try to cheat Gus, but Gus's luck will come through and he'll win the day. If the party want to take part in that, that's up to them. There's rules for it. It's called Swords and Shields. It's a fun game. It's a dice game I enjoy to play. Give it a couple of practice runs before you do it. Stories with Gus. So Bartram will ask Brandobble to explain the story of the hare. And this is your chance as a storyteller to act as a true storyteller. And like really ham it up. make the most of it, big up the adventure of how he, and then have the other characters, if you're good at throwing your voice and doing different accents at the same time. All of my accents when I try to do this all kind of bleed into one, and it normally sounds French or Spanish. And I'm really sorry.
I wasn't going to say anything.
I can hold an accent occasionally. When we did the playthrough of this, I thought my accents were pretty good. Like, they were better than normal anyway.
Definitely better than normal, yeah.
And it's a good chance. And what order you do the stories with Gus is up to you. Then there's the bard off, which is the important bit. If they've got a bard with them, the Battle of the Bards, again, really ham it up. Have Bartram get really excited, introduce both of them, make them both big goddamn heroes, even though they're just bards at level 2. Make them feel like they are the centre of this man's universe, because they are right now. And then there's the merchant, which happens after Dice with Luck, which is when Gus will... Oh, no, that's not the right bit. The merchant is in there as well, so he'll stay. If the party go back to the inn, Edwin can examine the magical doohickey they've got and tell them it's worth a lot of money, don't sell it, basically. And he'll offer to buy it for them, but doesn't have the money on him, so they can find him at wherever, and he'll see what he can do and investigate it further. And he can explain he's never seen anything like it. And then we've got Gus buying some perfume from Klee, and then going and chatting up ladies, and that's kind of signals the end of the different encounters that you've got going on. If you want to do more stuff with the encounters, you can. Then it's go to bed. Hopefully your bard has won the bard's room, but maybe not.
I remember when we were going through the first draft of this adventure, trying to get out of you whether that was a room belonging to a bard or a room for bards, and what the difference that made in how you wrote it. We went round and round like 4 or 5 times.
And it gives you a good chance as a DM to show that Bartram's like borderline obsession with this, yeah. Where he's had like the bards who have stayed in there have like signed the walls and done pictures, and he's paintings of them and stuff like that, or like him with his arm round one, that kind of room. It's kind of like he is the classic kind of the person who really likes Metallica or someone like that, isn't he? Like
he's the ultimate fanboy.
Yeah,
and
for
his
sure.
wife just kind of just about puts up with it.
So that's the idea there. In the morning, the idea is that Desmond will sneak out, owing some money to the bar, and Olga will be very annoyed and shouting at Bartram that they've trusted these people and they should stop trusting people. This gives the party a bit of a dilemma. Only make it like a couple of gold pieces, and I've played tested it 2 or 3 times now, and one of the groups out of the 3 actually paid Desmond's money that he owed to the bar, and 2 of them were like, well, sorry, which kind of restored her faith, which was nice. But then the party know that he's snuck off, that he's no longer in the inn, and he's snuck off looking for the rabbit to try and change his luck. He's heard all the information he needs, and off he goes.
And your absolute win as a GM from that entire evening is getting the players to a point where they really like Gus and they really don't like Desmond. And as long as you can get them there, you can consider the whole evening a success, because that's where they need to be to get the most out of the end of the module.
Yeah, agreed. And then Gus will agree to lead them the next day to where he saw the rabbit. He doesn't take them on the night because he's trying to chat up ladies. It's up to you whether he is successful or not. I like to make him successful because it's a shared room and it's funny roleplay for me. That's my sense of humour. I'm sorry. And then they either travel with him and he'll be leading the way, or they travel the road, and then this happens. As they're travelling along, we introduce Silhana and Silverscale. So the idea here is this is a combat encounter with a twist. So Silhana has been attacked by our villain of the piece, and he has reduced her maximum hit points down to 4. And then he's done damage which has knocked her out. So even if she gets healed, the most hit points she can go up to is 4. Silverscale, her long, faithful bear companion, you can see here, does what he can and tries to protect her. And the party arrive just as Silhana is running out of the woodlands and the spirit attacks. I'm a fan of doing a perception test, and whoever gets the highest I give the most information to, and then if there's a couple of other people high I give some information but not quite as much. And that seems to work okay-ish for me, because then even if your like highest is a 15 or something, like if no one rolls really well, you can still let them know what they've seen a bit, but you just use vaguer terms. So Silverscale will go in a defensive stance next to Silhana, and the party have a race against time to try and heal her or pick her up off the floor somehow. At level 2, I think there's only one class that can do this at range. You know what that one class is, Matt?
What? Healing at range?
Yeah, at level 2.
Level 2.
Not healing, but spare the dying at level 2.
Clerics, I guess.
Yeah, but it's a grave domain cleric. Will get ranged bonus action spare the dying. Really strong.
Yes, healing word will do it as well.
Would they have that at level 2?
Yeah, it's a level 1 spell.
Is it really? Oh, okay. So if anyone's got healing word, this makes this counter not as big. Hopefully no one does. Then it's up to you how you fluff it. So you can either have her wake up slowly and try to control Bear Claw. If they've attacked Bear Claw, trying to divert him away. If they have like speak with animals, he can explain that he's defending his companion and that they should leave. He doesn't know them or trust them. Depending what their party composition is, can move the spotlight. Is my advice. So find someone in the group who you think could be like the spotlight for this situation, and it's not that often when it comes to an NPC encounter or a fight that it is the healer who is the spotlight, and this gives them a chance to be the hero who comes sliding in and saves someone while the fighters kind of divert this angry bear. I mean, they could just kill the bear if they wanted to. It could just turn into a straight fight. And then once they pick her up, she can explain what's going on a little bit. Saying I'm oath-bound is really important if the party really push for information. She can tell them some information, gives them a map, explains that they've got to find the magical doohickey, but that is not the ultimate goal. It is then to use that magical doohickey to find what the spirit, to find what the monster is hunting. And she can hint that it is out there hunting something which is defenseless prey or something along those lines, and that it needs to be protected. She can say that she needs to take a rest. You can have also people do knowledges to understand that her maximum hit points have been dropped down from the attacks, and work out what's going on and work out how to beat this later on. But it is very important that she... You're going to say something, Matt?
Oh, I was just going to say the oathbound part is really important, because if she doesn't take that seriously, or if she's not oathbound, then she could just literally just blurt out the entire plot to the players right at the beginning, and that's just rubbish. So playing up the Oathbound angle is really important. And even if she's dead, if you decide not to fudge dice, if the players muck up, if somehow she dies, she's got that note on her, which means the players have slightly less information than they would have if they managed to save her, but they still have the opportunity to kind of progress through the adventure.
They do have an angry bear to deal with.
Yes. My favourite NPC in the entire thing is the angry bear.
So one of the playthroughs we did, someone had speak with animals and put speak with animals and tried to talk him down, and did their handle animals, and I gave them advantage and other stuff, and they just rolled horribly, and then they basically insulted him, and it didn't go well. We'll see these guys again, they'll come back. Then the idea is, if they've got Gus in tow, they can show him the map and get slightly different information. There's two possible locations where it could be. It's basically up to you which one you put it in. I put it in the northmost one on my games. That worked better, the further away of the two. Then it's finding the laboratory. I found getting the entrance of the laboratory was a bit rubbishy. I wish I'd like to change this a bit. It's just a bit underwhelming. So you've got a big staircase going down into the ground, and how it was hidden I didn't really like. I wish I put something at the top or something clever, but I didn't.
I quite liked it. I mean, bearing in mind, this is an adventure for level 2. It needs to be quite down and dirty, right? Because you want to ramp up to the huge and impressive later on.
True. Oh, going back to Silhana, she is a druid and she can heal. And if she sees that the party have taken a lot of damage from Bear Claw, have her heal people. Because the next encounter, if the party do not heal themselves or take it seriously, will wreck them. Okay, so it is the classic Guardian in front of the gate encounter. Something has settled in front of the ancient gate. Something has been drawn here. So we mentioned earlier some spiders came down from the mountains hunting prey. 2 giant spiders have set themselves up in the staircase going down to this door. They've not been there too long. They are on the ceiling and they have had some young as well, which makes it more interesting. They're very hard to see on a DC 22 wisdom perception if stuff's looking for them. They're well hidden. Giant spiders are absolutely brutal. If they hit, it's 1d8 plus 3 damage, and then it's a constitution saving throw, and if you fail that you are poisoned and it is another 2d8 damage at level 2. There's a very good chance if they drop down from the ceiling and hit a caster or a squidgy person that they could do 12, 15 damage. If they roll well, you could be doing over 20 damage at level 2. No, you could be doing
be nice to your players here. If they want to retreat, if they want to fall back, don't have the giant spiders progress out and chase them, because if you play this adversarially, you could end up with a party wipe, and nobody wants that. That's just not fun.
Exactly. So the way I did it was I had both spiders either engage or try and web people, and then come down from the ceiling and then attack. And then I had, depending how that first round of combat went, then indicated when and how fast my swarm would come from the bottom of the stairs. So if my giant spiders did dreadful and the players did really well, my swarm of spiders were very quick to give them another target. If my spiders did a lot of damage and the players did nothing, my spider swarm was not so quick and took some time to get through the door.
This whole thing is an arachnophobe's worst nightmare.
So they can, after killing those, they've then got a little bit of a puzzle to deal with, which we changed a few times, and the idea is that this is a practical puzzle for how the door would actually be set up. So it's a laboratory inside which has spirit animals and animals in it, so they set the doors up basically so you couldn't have both open at the same time. So the idea is, may the light of knowledge illuminate your path. So there's a light emanating from the door. Before you can enlighten your mind, isolate yourself from distractions, close the doors to the outside world, and then at the top, when you close the doors, you can see there's like a glass orb that you can move into the middle, and that's supposed to be the focus your thoughts. And if they do the puzzle, they get a bonus where they see a bit of information with the different people and how they manage to capture the spirits. If they don't, they can still get a little bit of information from inside. So if the players want to, they can just physically smash the crap out the door, and it just takes them 10 minutes. Every single group that I've run this with after this spider encounter have been wrecked and taken a short rest immediately before attempting the puzzle. That isn't the way that I wanted it to go, but it's the way that it's gone. Because they think there's going to be something else scary inside there, which is fair enough. Inside the laboratory here, we've got a beautiful picture of the shard, which I really like. This bit's changed quite heavily since we wrote it. The first playthrough I did, they got the shard and then were like, oh, we need to go back and see that druid chick. So I then made it slightly different. So as soon as one person touches the shard, it will automatically attune to them and then point towards where they need to go and try to pull them that direction. Then while they're messing around down in here, looking at different information, finding out what's going on, so there's the metal cylinder with the broken wax seal that looks like a rabbit print. Maybe if they're good at investigating, they can find the Archivist talking about his assistants. Not that they'll really know what's going on, but when they find out more information later, they might remember, they might not. And then the shard itself with the rules on how to use that. So again, you've got to you may have to remind them that this is not the goal. The goal is to get this, and then to find out where this will lead you to the ultimate thing. And it's tricky to put that across because it is find a doohickey to use it to find another doohickey, which is pretty common in D&D. Then this is the bit which has changed the most. We've rewritten it. The first time I play tested it was an absolute nightmare. I was so happy and I was like, I've come up with this genius system and I've got all these mechanics for doing time and it's going to work so well. And Matt was like, not sure, Adam, you might want to review this. And I'm like, no, trust me, I'm a genius. I'm a game designer. I know what I'm talking about. I can make Ultimate. And it was just freaking rubbish. It was so bad. So we changed it heavily, and it makes more sense now. It is.
I like to think we kept the spirit of what you were trying to do alive, and just completely changed the body.
Yeah. So the idea is that the players have got some choices with 3 different encounters of how they go about it. So if you've got someone who is actively looking at the map, you'll see the shard points out through a dense woodland, but if you look at the map, you'll actually see there's a path round it, which will be quicker. If they don't look at the map, then they've got to go through it. And then you've got some rolls on athletics, otherwise people get exhausted. The second choice, you've got a swamp with some constitution saves, some poisons, or if they go round it, then you can introduce them to something which is going to come on later, which is like a necrotic snare that the end boss puts into place. And then the third choice, this is one which is quite interesting. So it's coming towards spring. The mountains have got more water coming down from them, and the river's moving rapidly, and they can look to cross it, or they could look a bit further up screen, and there's some mountain lions with cubs who are drinking. If they've got the druid with them, Silhana, she'll offer to like calm the lions or whatever, but then that will slow her down while they move ahead, and then you can have her enter their last encounter a bit quicker, behind them, sorry. If they don't have her, then that's going to be a tough encounter and another fight. I think all of the playthroughs, they went across the river, and a couple of people slipped on rocks, which was fun, and got rushed downstream. And here we've got a phenomenal piece of art, again, from Kaio. We've got the rabbit in its cage, Desmond, and then the last boss, and then the two shades in the background. Little bit of blurb. So the last encounter should be dusk. The party should be tired. They've not had a long rest. They've used some of their abilities up. This is going to be a hard fight. Hopefully they have Silhana with them. And there's a few things that you can roll in if they start steamrolling it to slow them down. And there's things that you can bring back if it's going really bad.
Yeah, and try and be a bit forgiving if the party are trying interesting things, like trying to create bright lights or use fire against the shade or stuff like that. Just kind of roll with it. It's better if players try kind of new and interesting tactics rather than just kind of rolling to hits. So
yeah,
reward them for thinking, basically.
Exactly. The shade of Nakef can hit like a truck, like an absolute truck. It's 3d8 damage, I think. And it's life drain on that as well. So, I mean, he's not got the most hit points. He's only got 30 hit points. But that 3d6... Oh, no, it's 3d6 damage, sorry. And then a constitution save, which then reduces the maximum health points by the amount of damage taken, which is just brutal. And if they hit 0, they die. Ugh. So I had a couple of these traps around. I caught the druid in one playthrough. I tried to catch the bear, but he was too strong and just pulled himself through. But if it's going really bad, have players magically hit into these traps for you. But if the party is looking in trouble, do not use the traps too much at all, because they really just take someone out for a round. And like Matt said, use the light. So push that he's sunlight sensitive. Have, if Silhana's with them, push that as well.
And that's the real advantage of the party having encountered the shadow traps earlier in the adventure. It's meant to kind of hint at the shade's weakness and also kind of teach them how to deal with the traps back then, so that when they encounter them this time round, they're already old hands at this. But your party might not have encountered the traps back then, at which point they're just going to have to learn on the fly while dealing with a shade and a ghoul and two shadows, which will be fun for them.
Brutal fight. I love this fight so much. You can have so I had the shade originally. My party, when they got into this situation on one of the playthroughs, was not in a good position to fight this, so I broke it down into two separate parts. I had the shade actually over the spirit of the rabbit, like starting to drain it, and then I sort of I engaged the ghoul and the two shadows for them to fight, and then they kind of dealt with those, and then he engaged. So I kind of used it as a two-part, because I knew if all four of these creatures went into the party at once, they were going to be in serious trouble. Make this an epic fight. He can go through the ground, he can go through trees, he's clever, he's evil. Kill the bear. You got Silverscale.
No, don't kill the bear.
You've got what is like a massive hit point sponge there for these monsters just to wail on for a bit and drain his strength. With the shadows as well, you've got a druid who's got some good hit point cushion. to get wailed on. Like, don't single out one target at a time, because you'll wreck them. You'll absolute wreck them.
Yeah, don't gang up on people, and use your NPCs to demonstrate how hard the villains are, so that the players know, essentially.
Yeah.
But don't kill the bear, because we love the bear. The bear is off.
And then they've got a choice of what to do with the rabbit spirit. They can release it from the trap and let it go, and just have it still on this plane jumping around. And they get some luck if they do that. They can take the spirit back into the shard, or put it back into the canister if they brought that with them, which gives them a rabbit familiar, which is awesome. They can bind the spirit into a willing host using the shard, which gives them another cool special ability, or they can completely release it, which again gives them basically like the half-brilliant temporary luck. Every single playthrough they've released it because they think it's the right thing to do. We were talking about this just earlier. Like, do you hint that by releasing it you're killing it? Like, it's up to you. Like, you are releasing it from this plane of existence. Be free. Oh, he's dead. Okay. Like, make it very clear that this is a spirit and you are ending its existence by doing this. Is up to you. Like, it's something we're planning on talking about in the next game, which is focused on a character, I don't want to give too much away, but a character who holds one of the animal spirits within inside them. And it's much more focused on that world.
Stop giving away our secrets.
Like, I'm really happy with how the next one's shaping up. I'm really happy. It's going to be good.
The next one that we're writing at the moment is Spirit of the Bear, which we're in the middle of writing, and yeah, it's going to be good.
I hope so.
We're enjoying how it's going.
And then we've got some stats. So we got stats for Brand Double, which were written by Matt.
Technically, what we did was we ripped off the stats for the bard from one of the source books and changed it so it was a halfling. So I'm not claiming too much credit for that.
And then we've got how to play swords and shields. When I explained how to play swords and shields, I did it as Desmond Diamond Delacroix explained to the players how to play it, which was just beautifully horrendous, and I really enjoyed. And then what they get if they get a rabbit familiar, so you get a celestial tiny magical beast familiar, which is fun. And that's where I ended mine. Oh, and we got the map, which was written by one of the players drawn by one of the players from my normal game, and they did a phenomenal job in not a lot of time, because I kept forgetting to give them information. So this is the location. This top question mark is where I put the item, but you could put it in this one. It's up to you. It doesn't make the biggest difference. It's pretty fluid.
The important thing to me is whichever place they go to first should contain the family of skunks, because if you're not running your players through that encounter, what are you doing? Yeah, it's literally just some skunks that spray them.
Yeah. So here you can see the marsh. We made it nice and big, so it doesn't matter where you put it. The hills and the rough forest. So I put them here, and then it kind of goes this way, so they can follow this road here, but they went through the woods. And then that's the encounter. And then you can, if you want, have them go back to Braeburn, have them go back to the Hog and Hare. I finished with Selhana being like, explaining she's young in the order, but understands that these people seem to have the right ideals, and she's happy for them to keep it, that it's bound to them, and that she's trusting the magic of the item. It's not a sentient item. She's just very inexperienced, and is happy for them to keep it, which she would be. She may come back up later. She may not, because there's a good chance that she'll die in this encounter, or that Silverscale will die in this encounter. Like I said, in that last combat, if it's going bad, you've got a frickin' bear. Just have him like rocking and start slapping stuff around and making himself a huge target. And it gives like the players a round of combat while the bear's just getting beat down. and then it's up to the players whether they bring the encounter back to themselves or let this bear get beat up a bit. Yeah, and there we go. So it follows a similar structure called a 5-room dungeon, with some tweaks and whistles and moving bits around and making it a bit more. So it's not all in one place. So just to summarise it, we've got the inn, where you've got a couple of key bits of information to put across, the story of Gus, some hopefully interesting NPCs to roleplay and to spotlight on maybe some characters who don't normally spotlight, and then to bring out like the way that some characters look and how they are, to bring that out into the open as well, of how they would be treated by certain people. Klee, Scummy Desmond, Silhana, interesting NPC hopefully, with a combat encounter that doesn't have to be a combat encounter, which is the style I like. The puzzle, I'm pretty happy with it, how it turned out. A bit of information dump on them, a magical doohickey, and then race to the last boss, and then boom, big fight to finish it off, and level 2 encounter. The idea is that you'll be able to either get your characters to level 3, and then come up with more storylines and more sort of things using the shard to kind of draw your characters into other spirit encounters and bits and bobs like that, or to just wait for our next one and then slot that into your main campaign. So the next one's probably going to be level 4.
I think we said 4. Yeah.
I think so. There's a bit, as long as, and you could probably do it at higher levels as well. Well, if you've made it this far, thank you for watching. Like I said, please go download it for free. Give it a watch, and please in the comments, if you do give it a playthrough, let us know how it goes. And if you'd like us to make any changes, yes, we can look at doing that and updating it always. Brilliant. Cheers, everyone.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.
Bye.